Hello everyone. We'll be giving you a demonstration of the solution we have created for Verizon. Before that, we would like to go through a quick presentation to give you an overview of that solution. In the solution, we have configured three different applications: issues management system, requirements management, and test management system. Here in this diagram, we are showing the relations among the different entities we have created in these different applications. So for example, we have the three entities: requirements, test cases, and issues. The relation between the requirements and test cases are many to one. That means many requirements are related to a single test case. This is called the traceability relation between the requirements and the test cases. Similarly, from the test cases to issues is a one-to-many relation. Each test case may be tested number of times, and if it fails more than once, then it can create multiple issues. So test cases to issues is a one-to-many relationship. This is regarding the issues application we have created. You can actually submit the issues from a corporate website or portal. We have created uh, a waveform as a part of Kovair website, but it can be created for a Verizon website as well, which is integrated with the Kovair application, so that people who do not have access to Kovair application can still submit issues using this waveform. And automated process is created in Kovair, uh, which I'll kind of show during the product demonstration, which will be followed whenever an issue is submitted, either in the application directly or through the web form. The multiple users can access this application from various different locations and works in parallel simultaneously. It has got a very nice report generation capability as well as a very colorful dashboard. Uh, Kovair can be accessed internally from Verizon as well as externally. Various users can access it using their user ID and password, and they have got different sets of privileges and access rights. They can see only certain issues which are available to them. Uh, we also have user-defined forms so that people can see only those informations which are relevant to them, and we can also link issues to each other, so that if there are duplicate issues, rather than trying to follow them independently multiple times, you can link it to the original issue so that you know what is the solution of that one. This diagram shows the issues as they are categorized by the number of different devices from different manufacturers, like the Motorola, RIM, that is the BlackBerry manufacturer, and Samsung, as well as different applications. And we have chosen four popular applications from the Verizon website. So each issue belongs to our particular device and our particular application. Now, it is very important to note that since the device manufacturers are different, so we have also created some users from each of this manufacturer who can only see their issues. That means the Motorola users will not be able to see the issues which are related to Samsung or RIM, and that is true for each of these manufacturers. This is the example of the process we'll be following. Kovair has a very powerful process designer, and which can be used to implement and automate and enforce process. As I said, that is an example of a process. Of course, actual process in Verizon will be different, and you can create a very simple, or a very comprehensive process very easily using Kovair's process designer, which is just uses drag and drop interface. You don't have to write a single line of code. In the product demonstration, we'll show that when an issue is created, how it flows through these different activities in this process. And now, if you look at the left hand side, there is a sub process which is for the change request. Kovair actually allows to have process embedded in another process, and this particular sub process is followed if there is a change request. In our demonstration, we'll not follow that particular path. We'll be following only the path starting from analyze to the review by manufacturer to the fix by application manager, etc. So we'll follow this particular path only. Now we can go to the product demonstration. We start our product demonstration by submitting an issue from the waveform we have created as part of corporate website of Kovair. So the usage of this waveform is for those users who do not have access to the Kovair application. That means they don't have a user ID password to create an issue within the Kovair application. But still they can submit an issue using the corporate website or portal, and by integrating this waveform with the Kovair application, this gives an opportunity to a larger audience to submit an issue. So in this particular case, we have a, let's say, a problem with the Busy Navigator, which is the navigation software for Verizon running on a BlackBerry. So we say problem with BlackBerry Busy Navigator. Okay, and we say here in the complaint, is crashing. Okay, now here as you can see that we have the different manufacturers here. Let's say if I select Samsung, it will show me the Samsung model numbers. But in this particular case, of course, we will be working with RIM, and let's say that our BlackBerry is 7750. Let's put some ESN numbers here and PRL number. Let's give also a date code, let's say 3709, and we are ready to submit it. So it says that thanks for submitting your issue. Now it is actually added to the Kovair application. Let's go to the Kovair application now. So we are looking at the login page for Kovair Global Lifecycle application. Kovair is 100% web-based, which means that all functionalities are available through the browser. And this is one very big difference between many other tools. Most of the other tools are client-server, even when they have a web interface. That web interface is typically very lightweight. You cannot do everything. And there is also another category of software which is web-based, but typically they use ActiveX control, which has its own set of problems. But Kovair is not only 100% web-based, it doesn't use ActiveX controls, it uses the old traditional HTML, DHTML, JavaScript kind of code base, though it uses flashes, which is very lightweight for some of the dashboard and some of the graphic elements. So what we'll do here, we'll log in as Alex, Alex Manager. So he's, let's say, a Verizon employee who is a QA manager, looks into all the issues which are submitted through the web pages. So we'll log in as Alex. So when Alex logs in, it comes to Alex's homepage. So let me explain the different areas of Alex's homepage. At the right top, you have the name of the user who has just logged in. It also shows the login time, etc. Now here it shows the site is Kovair, and then the workspaces, issues, and change management. In Kovair, the hierarchy is at the top you have the site, which is typically the company name. So in case of Verizon, it will be the Verizon site. And under each of the site, you can have multiple workspaces. So for example, here, these are the workspaces which Alex has access to. Now, workspace is a very flexible container for any number of different kinds of items. So for example, you can have a single workspace for the whole organization so that everything is put in a single workspace, or you can have each workspace for each division, or even a workspace per project. So depending on your need for security and sharing data, you can configure a workspace accordingly. In this particular case, we have created a workspace for Verizon called the Issues and Change Management. And in that particular workspace, we have three entities: requirements, test cases, and issues, as I have kind of described during the presentation. And these applications, the requirements, test cases, and the issues, they actually work with each other. In Kovair terminologies, these are called different entities: the requirements, test cases, and issues. Now, Alex, being a manager, he has got access to all of these different tabs. On the other hand, if there are certain users who are, for example, a business analyst who has got access only to the requirements, they'll be able to see only the requirements tab. Now, the particular page we are looking at is the My Task page for Alex, and in this page, there are all the different tasks which are assigned to Alex, and they may be coming from different workspaces. In this particular case, actually all of them are coming from the same workspace, but it can come from different workspaces. And so here are the tasks which are assigned to Alex and which he needs to work on. Now let me explain the difference between the task and an entity item like issue. In Kovair, the tasks are something which people need to do, work on, like a work item or action item, which may be related to other entity items like issues. A single issue can have multiple tasks at the same time assigned to different people, asking them to do different things. And that is actually a very powerful concept, because in that case, the same item can be worked upon by more than one person at the same time, which is superior to a state-based system where an item can be in one state alone at any point of time. But here you can do multiple parallel things at the same time. So let's look at the very top task here, the task number 123, which is related to an issue number 141. Okay, and if you look at the title, this is the same issue we have just submitted from the web page. So let's click on that and let's go to the detail of that particular task. So here is a task which shows that this is related to an issue. What is the issue? Issue is the problem with the BlackBerry Busy Navigator, the one we submitted from the web page. So Alex is the owner. Here it shows that Alex is the owner, and he's being asked to analyze this particular issue. And if we scroll it down, here are the parent fields. Parent means the issue. These are the issue fields which Alex needs to fill up. So let's go to the edit mode and let's look at those fields here. The very first one is the issue status. So let's look at those. So here I want you to remember some of these values, because when we go to the process, actually we'll refer to the issue state. Now let's say Alex, after analyzing this issue, says that assigned to manufacturer, and the issue type is let's say this is a device issue. The application, we already know this is related to Busy Navigator. The issue severity is, let's say, must correct prior to launch. Area of testing is hardware, some hardware version, let's say 1.02. And it also already know that manufacturers are RIM and BlackBerry 7750, and it is asking whether it's identified in pretest. No, it is not. And let's save it. So as far as Alex is concerned, he is asked to actually set it up by analyzing, and he's done. He can now complete his task. So he clicks on the complete task, and that completes the task. And as you can see, that particular task is now gone from his My Task page. Okay, now this is a very important thing, that Alex, he doesn't know where that particular issue has come from, and once he has completed his task, he also doesn't know where is it going to, because there is a process actually working in the back end which created this task initially for Alex, and also which will take care of routing this issue to the right person once Alex has completed his task. And this is true for all users. They don't need to know what is the process, how the process is running. They just come to their home page, they look at their task, and whatever task they find, they need to work on that. And once they have done it, they just complete the task. The rest is all taken care by the process engine of Kovair. Now for your benefit, let me show you how this task is actually working. Okay. Now let me open the hood and look at that particular process, which is basically creating all these different kinds of tasks. So for that, let's go to the issue tab here. And here is actually the list of all the different issues. I'll talk about the list in a minute. But before that, let's look at the very top one, 141. This is the same issue which we are tracking, which we originally submitted from the corporate website, and which we, as Alex, looked at that and completed his task. Now here it shows that now it is actually assigned to a user called RIM user. And who is an RIM user? RIM user is actually somebody from the device manufacturer, RIM, because they are the person this issue is related to, RIM. So it has automatically routed to the RIM user, right? If it were related to Samsung, it would have routed to Samsung user. And this is actually very important because you don't want to route a RIM issue to the Samsung user. Now let's look at the actual process as it is running in the backend. So let's look at our graphical process designer here. Okay, so this is our graphic designer for the process. So let me make it a little bigger here. So this process designer is very much similar to Visio, drag and drop. But unlike Visio, which is just a drawing program, there are a lot of logic, a lot of smartness behind all these different shapes. So for example, whenever our issue is created, it starts from the start node. It goes to the next one called analyze by QA manager. And since actually Alex was playing the QA manager role, that's why, if you remember, a task was created for Alex asking him to analyze. And then based on whatever issue status Alex has selected as a part of that task, completion of that task, based on that, different links have come from there. For example, the rejected, duplicate issues, etc. And it can go through any of this link based on the issue status. But since he actually selected assign to manufacturer, that's why it has gone to the next node, which is review by the manufacturer by manufacturer manager. And RIM user is the manufacturer manager. That's why a task is created for him, right? So that is how, when Alex has completed his task, it has created a new task for the manufacturer manager. And since this issue is related to RIM and RIM user is the manufacturer manager for that, so that's a task is created for him. So let me log in as RIM user. So when we log in, we see a couple of little changes, little differences here. First of all, you see that RIM user has access only to one workspace. That's why the drop-down is not available. One thing you also see that color, the theme of this particular pages are different. Actually, Kovair has a number of color themes, and each user can have a particular theme based on his or her preference. Now, another very important point here is that you see that the only entity which is accessible to RIM user is the issues, because they are only working on the issues. They are not really working with the requirements and test cases. That's why their access is limited or restricted to the issues management only. Now, in the My Task page, just like Alex, here are the tasks which are related or assigned to RIM user. And at the top, there is a task waiting for him, as expected. So let's go to that task. And this task, just like Alex, is also related to the same issue, the problem with the BlackBerry Busy Navigator. And in this particular case, what the RIM user needs to say is that what kind of issue it is. For example, he says that this is a critical issue, and also put some supplier response like need to check the software, which is kind of standard. The device will kind of hand over any issue to the software or application manufacturer. So let's save that. And as far as RIM user is concerned, he can complete his task. As he completes the task, that task is now gone from his my task page as it is now completed. Okay. Now what we can do, we can go back to the process once again, and we were here, right? This is the blue. That means this is the active node right now. Now if we refresh this process, this shows now green because RIM user has just completed that, and now it goes to the fix by application manager, right? Because that is the next step, and this shown in blue. So if we just double click that, that actually shows me that now the owner is Adam Smith and the activity is fixed by the application vendor. So now if I log in as Adam, I'll be able to see a task waiting for him, just like we have seen for RIM user. And when he completes the task, it would go to the whoever is the person acting as a tester, asking him or her to test it. So this is how the process works in Kovair, that a task is created for a person who is playing a particular role for an activity, and when he completes that, based on the process, if there are certain branches based on some conditional logic, it will follow that branch and go to the next node, and a next task is created for one or more person. So I will not follow the process anymore. I'll just stop the process here. But this is how the process actually works. And one more important point again is that this is an example process. Actual process for Verizon will be possibly different, and it is very easy to create a process using Kovair's drag and drop interface for process designer. And for all the users, they don't need to look at this process. They don't need to know how the process is created. They don't even need to know how the process is run. It's completely transparent to them. The task appears their home page. They just complete the task and that's it. Only the administrator is involved in creating the process and running the process. Okay, now the next thing I'd like to do is to go to the list of issues and look at this list and to see how we can look at those issues in a number of different ways. Now, in a typical situation, you will have thousands or tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of issues over time. Now, of course, you don't work with all these issues simultaneously. You are only interested in a few issues. So Kovair actually gives you a number of control to quickly drill down and focus only those issues you are interested in. The controls Kovair provides are, for example, a view. The view defines what are the columns you want to see, how do you want to group them, how do you want to sort them, etc. You can create your views here directly if you have the access right, or you can edit even the views. Another one is the filter. The filter defines what are the rows you want to see, and here also you can create your own filter. So here is one particular view we are looking at, which is the process view. Let me look at one other view, which is the application and manufacturer. So it first grouped by the application, and then it is grouped by the manufacturer. So for example, if I want to look at all the Busy Navigator related issues, here are they are 51 in number, and I'm interested in all those which are also related to RIM. So here are, for example, the RIM related Busy Navigator issues. So if I scroll it down, it actually shows me my issue, which is the last one, problem with the BlackBerry Busy Navigator, right? So this is one way to look at those issues, the 23 in number, which are both related to the RIM devices, that means the BlackBerry devices, as well as Busy Navigator. There is another way of looking at it. This time, for example, it is first grouped by the manufacturer, then by the application. So for example, here we have the group by RIM. There are 44 in number, and then we have the group by the Busy Navigator, which is again 23. And in this particular case, our issues is at the top because we have actually ordered in a descending order of the ID, right? So these are the very easy way to actually look into different kinds of issues by different kinds of grouping. Similarly, we can use the filter to filter by only by certain manufacturers. So we can say that show me the RIM related issues as well as the Motorola related issues. And then we can run it, and that will give us only the Motorola and RIM related issues. You see the Motorola and RIM related issues only. Now, I'll quickly go to the other tab, and remember this is the RIM user. Now the RIM user, if we go to the issues tab for them and use the same filter, for example, group by the manufacturer and application, but they will be able to see only their issues. That's why it is only showing manufacturer RIM, even when the filter is all open items. So this is by the access right as defined by the group of RIM users. They will be able to see only those issues which are related to the RIM manufacturer. Similarly, if it were a Samsung user, in that case, they will be able to see only those issues which are related to Samsung devices. So this is actually a great way to limit the visibility of the issues by group, and they will be able to see only those issues which they are interested in. You don't want to show the Samsung issues to RIM and RIM issues to Motorola, etc. Now there are a couple of other ways to look at the issues. For example, you can do a text search. For example, let me just select another view. For example, let's go into the issue details view here, which actually doesn't have any kind of grouping. It is just a list. It is also in a descending order of the ID. And let's say I want to find out all the VZ Navigator related problem. So I am searching for the VZ Navigator, and let's see what items we get here. Of course, as you can see that 141 we have the VZ Navigator. We have got some couple of other items which has got some VZ Navigator related item also. There is ID search is another very interesting way of doing searches. For example, I can say that show me the last 5 issues. So I can just type last 5 and that gives me last 5 items. So using these ways, you can actually focus and directly look at those issues which you are interested in. Now the next thing I'd like to show you are the requirements, and let's go to the requirements tab here. And what we would like to do is basically, first of all, we would like to import requirements from our Word document. So let's look at the Word document here. So this is a Word document, and let me just scroll it down so that you see that what kind of requirements are there. So these are the requirements we would like to import. As you can see, these requirements are pretty rich in description in terms of the very formatted text with an embedded image, with a table and everything. So we would like to actually import these requirements. Actually, let me go scroll all the way to the bottom, and let's say we have got this requirement, and I'll just modify that. I'll say that for Verizon, okay, so that you know that we have imported these requirements into Kovair. And there are also requirements which are hierarchical in nature. So if we go back to the content here, you say that under 2 we have got 2.1, 2.2, 3, etc. So typically that is how we get a Word document full of requirements, and they are in a hierarchical fashion. In this particular case, only two levels of hierarchy, but sometimes we see 3, 4 levels of hierarchy. That's not a problem in Kovair either. Now to import that, Kovair has what we call a Word add-on. So based on a Word add-on, we have a menu here called Kovair. So let's go there, and we have a wizard. So let's start that wizard. So we are logging in as Alex, let's say, and logging in. And here is our workspace, and let's select that workspace. And for that workspace, we have a number of different entities, but we will be importing only the requirements. So let's select the requirements. The next page is actually allows me to set up the different options how we will be doing this import. So for example, we'll say that we'll parse for the title, and the descriptions are between the text between 2 titles. And here are also different strategies to parse it. For example, the first one is keyword. So if my requirements in the document have, let's say, the keywords like like should, shall, etc., I would be able to define those keywords, and the system will parse all those sentences and paragraphs which has those keywords. Or it can be by delimiter. So for example, if the document has each of the requirements starting with a phrase called requirements, then it will be able to use that delimiter to designate a requirement. But in this particular case, we'll be using styles, and that is typically the way the requirements document are structured, that using the Microsoft Word's different styles, they are actually defined. So in this particular case, we'll be using this TOC1 to define the different styles which defines these requirements. So let me add that as a parsing logic. And we'll also maintain the hierarchy. Remember that we have seen the hierarchy in the document, so let's maintain that. Let's go to the next page. Here are the different fields or attributes or requirements. So while we are importing each of these individual requirement, we can also set some of these field values. So in this particular case, let me select the compliance. Status is already selected since it is a required field, and the type. And we go to the next page where we can give the value, the default value for each one of them. Let's say the compliance value is only compliant. Okay. Status is new, and type is, let's say we say all of them are functional requirements. Let's go to the next page, and when we go to the next page, it actually goes through parsing the document and bring out all those requirements based on whatever I have set as strategy, and it will give me a chance to look at those requirements before I actually add to Kovair. So it says the document is parsed successfully. Now let's go to the next page, and it will give me a chance to look at those parsed requirements. So here are those. So it has got the same number of requirements which we have seen in the content. And if you look at this 2.1 here, so let me just open that 2.1, and it will show me that what it has parsed as a requirement. So this is the same one, if you remember, the 2.1. Okay, and now we can actually go back, and here you see the column for compliance, and this has got actually values, the default values we have put. For example, the type of all of them are functional and compliance is compliant. But let's say I want to change them. The 2.1 is actually not compliant, and the number 3, this is the one we actually changed. So let me make it a partially compliant. Okay, and this is the one, the title is the same was, right? For Verizon, remember I added that in the last one, so I keep it like that. So now we are ready, and we can just go to next, and that will add all of these different requirements into Kovair application. Let me close these pop-ups. So records are saved successfully. We can finish it. So now let's go back to Kovair. So we had 26 items, and now if we refresh it, let's see what are the other items added. Now it is 32, 6 more items. And if you look at each of these requirements, these are the same requirements. This is the last one. I added that for Verizon there, remember? And if you look at this type, all of them are functional. Here is the compliance. I changed it for partially compliant. And that 2.1 is actually now 9.1 here, and that is not compliant. So if we click on 9.1 here, we'll be able to see the description here, which is the same as whatever we have seen in the document, right? So this is how we can actually import the requirements very easily from the existing Microsoft Word documents. Now, just like issues, here also we have got the views and filters and text search and ID search to search through these requirements and see it in a number of different ways. So one of the ways is, for example, if I want to group by the compliance category. So these are what we call the category views, right? So for example, here are based on the categories, and if you look at the partially compliant ones, here is the one partially compliant, the one we have just imported from our Word document, number 10, right? Now, there is another very interesting view here, which is called the document view. In the document view, you'll be able to see the list of the selected requirements with their description directly, just like as if you are looking at a document. And these descriptions have not only all the formatting, embedded images, everything is there. So if I scroll down all the way, you can see that all of these very highly formatted descriptions are all there. And not only that, not only you have the description, but also you have the other field values like the compliance shown in the same document view. So you have both the description as well as some of the selected fields. And you can change whatever fields you want to show in this document view as well. Now the next thing what we would like to do is to go to the test cases, and we would like to import the test cases from our Excel spreadsheet in this particular case. We have so far 170 test cases, but we also have an Excel spreadsheet. So let's look at that. So here is an Excel spreadsheet with 1, 2, 3, 4, four test cases. For each of these test cases, we have a number of steps and expected results. So for example, the last one, actually let me change it also, say for Verizon, and let me save that. And here for this particular one, we have altogether 11 different steps for the procedure and the expected result. Okay, so let's import this particular Excel spreadsheet as test cases. So let's go back to Kovair, and here is one item for import. And we can actually import directly from Kovair, unlike Microsoft Word, where you will need an add-on which is running on Microsoft Word, and that Microsoft Word can be opened on any desktop anywhere, but you need to install that add-on on top of your Microsoft Word. Here you can do the import directly from the browser itself. Okay, so here for example, first of all we have to import the file or specify the import file. So let's go to the browse, and here is our import file. Let me attach that. Okay, I've attached it. Now I can say done, and that is attached. Now I have to select a map, or I have to create a new map. Now the map file is basically mapping between the columns in Excel spreadsheet to the fields in Kovair, as the column names can be different from the field names. Now you can actually create a map and save it, so that in future if you have to import a similar file again and again, you don't have to create the map every time. You just create it once and use it every time you are doing this import. And the map also specify what kind of parsing format you are using. For example, we support not only Excel and CSV format, but also any kind of user-defined custom formats as well. So let's go to the next page. And the next page actually shows the first few rows of the Excel spreadsheet we have just uploaded, so that you know that you are working on the right file. Here are some of the options. Now look at this allow update. Actually this is a interesting feature, is that you can export the items, whether it's an issue or test case or whatever, to an Excel spreadsheet. You can work on that Excel spreadsheet offline, and then you can import it back. And while importing back, if you say allow update, in that case that will allow the changes made offline to update the existing items in Kovair. So this actually allows you to work offline even when you are not connected. Let's say you are traveling, you are in a flight, you can still work on it, and then whenever you go back, you can actually update and update all the changes you have made offline. Okay, now let's go to the field mapping. So here we are talking about the field mapping. Here are the Kovair fields, and these are the Excel fields. So for example, the description in Kovair is mapped into the case description of the Excel spreadsheet. And similarly, there are other field mappings also. And these are all kind of defined and saved as a map file, as you can see. And we have just used that. And now we are ready to do an import. And Kovair actually gives me a choice here that whether I want to run that import immediately right now, or I can run it in future. As a matter of fact, when you are, let's say, loading a huge Excel file, maybe tens of thousands of items, hundreds of thousands of items in a number of different Excel files which you can queue, you want to do it during the night when the load is low, right? And Kovair actually allows you to do that. One of our customers regularly imports hundreds of thousands of items, and this is a very easy way for him to actually schedule it during the night when the load is low, and he can queue multiple different Excel files to be imported one after another. But in this particular case, of course, we want to run it right now. So let me save it, and that makes it run. So it says the import is running, and we can say OK. And now we can go back to the test case list. Remember, we had 170 items, and now we have got 174 items. And if you look at the last one here, this is the same one. We made changes. We added that for Verizon as title. So let's go to the detail of that particular test case. So here is the test case, right? And let's look at the test procedure and expected result. We had 11 steps, if you remember. So here are those 11 steps, which are also imported from the Excel spreadsheet. So here are the 11 steps, right? Now the next thing we'd like to do is, if you remember, that a test case is related to one or more requirements by traceability relation. So let's create those relations. So here is the linked requirements section, where we can actually create a new requirement directly. We can create a new requirement, and when we create it, not only it creates a new requirement, but it also links to this particular test case. But in this particular case, what we'll do, we'll relate existing requirements, and let's say in this particular case, the requirements we have just imported from our Word document, will make a link with that. So here are those requirements. Remember those requirements, and let's select those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So those are the 6 items we have imported, and their compliances are all shown here. And as I said, done. Now I create a traceability link between this test case with the 6 different requirement items. Very efficient. With a single shot, I just made 6 links simultaneously, and all of these requirements shows their compliances as well. Remember our partially compliant and non-compliant requirements here too. Okay, so we have linked this test case to 6 requirements. The next thing I'd like to do is actually test this test case. So there is a section for the test run result, and as expected, the test run result is empty right now, but you can actually create multiple run, because every time the test case is run, the result can be different, and it has been run by different people at different date and time, so you can have multiple rows for this test run. So let me add a new record here, which is default by me. That means whoever is the logged in user, in this case Alex, of course, and it is run on today's date and time. And the run result, let's say after running it, this test case, I say it's failed. When it fails, automatically Kovair generates a new issue linked to this particular test case. And that is another great feature of Kovair, that this issue is not only gets the values from the test case, so that you don't have to create manually a issue. It is automatically created linked to this particular test case. So for example, remark, I say that check the issue auto created for this test case. Okay, and let me save that. So this gives me a row which says that run by Alex, that's me, run on the date, and the run result is fail, and here is the remark. Okay, so now we can actually go to the issues, and let's look at the issue which is supposed to be created automatically. So let me change this, as a matter of fact, to all issues, all open items. Here you see 142 is the issue which is generated automatically for the test case. So let's go to that particular issue. It shows that it is linked with the test case, the same one which we imported from Excel spreadsheet. and to which we have already linked other requirements. So from here, I know that this is the issue, and I can click on that test case. That shows me the test case in a pop-up. This is the same test case. Not only that, it also has all the linked requirements. Remember those 6 requirements I have linked with this particular test case? These are the same 6 requirements with all of their compliance information. So from the issue, which is automatically generated whenever the test case was run and the result was fail, if the result is anything but the fail, then the issue is not created. It is only created when it is failed. And from that issue, now it is linked with the test case, and from the test case I can go to the requirements and look at all the compliance. So I know that this particular issue is related to 6 different requirements, right? And all of them have their compliance information, and as I know that one of them is a partially compliant and one of them is non-compliant. So I know that whatever I need to do with respect to this particular issue, because I also know these are related to these 6 different requirements. Okay, now we are done with all the different features of the requirements, test cases, and issues we wanted to show. One last thing I want to show you is our reporting capability. So for that, let me go to our dashboards. So let's go to the dashboard. Kovair has a very colorful dashboard. So this is the dashboard we are looking at, which is created for the issues management. Actually, Kovair supports multiple dashboards, so each user can actually subscribe to multiple dashboards. Alex, being a manager, he has got access to a multiple dashboard for Verizon, both issues, requirements, and test management. So let's look at some of these gadgets, as we call it, of the dashboard. Here we have the issue submission trend, we have the issue resolution trend, okay, and each of these trend is automatically calculated on a weekly basis and based on as people are working on these issues by resolving them or the issues are being submitted. These are very useful reports on a very very useful graph, so that you know immediately how your issue subsystem is working in terms of both submission and resolution. There are some more gadgets here. For example, here are the issues by manufacturer. Um, you know that, for example, the RIM is not doing as well because there are more issues related to RIM. With respect to the applications also, you know that there are certain applications have more issues. For example, Busy Navigator. One other very important point here is that if I click on this particular element, the Busy Navigator and 51, that will actually pop up and show me all those 51 issues which are related to Busy Navigator. So here are those 51 items, and I can actually drill down and look at those items which correspond to that particular element in that graph. So you can actually, not only these graphs are very colorful and very nice to look at, but actually you can click on any part of the graph and go into the actual data which makes that particular element. If we scroll it down, there are many other graphs also. By the way, you can also change the graph type. So for example, I don't like this donut shape and I want to change it to something else. So for example, to a 3D pie chart, then I can change that. And also each of these graph can be saved. So if I right click, you see the save as image. So you can actually save as image and you can actually put it in a different report if you want as an image also. So these are all the different kinds of issue related graphs in the dashboard. Now let's look at also the dashboard for requirements. So here's the requirements related dashboard. By the way, all these gadgets are being calculated on real time. That means the values you are looking at here, the graphs you are looking at here is correct to the up to that second. So here is the multi-level distribution of different based on the release, compliance, and types, etc. So let me scroll it down. Here is the requirement submission trend. And also if we have the distribution by compliance, this is another very interesting one. So if I, for example, click on the non-compliant, which is the 5 items, it will give me the 5 items which are not compliant here from the graph itself. And the last one I want to show you is the test management dashboard. So let's go to the test management. There is 2 graphs I want you to note. One is this trend on the testing status and result. So here are, for example, on a week by week basis, it gives you how many tests are fail, pass, block, investigate, etc. So it shows you how the things are getting changed, or what is the trend over a week by week basis. That's another very interesting graph. Actually, all the trend graphs are very useful, because that gives you a trend over your organization. How is it doing? Especially at a higher level, that gives you a very nice picture of what is really happening. And the other graph I want to show you is the one with respect to the compliance. Um, here we go. Now here is the compliance graph at the test case level. But remember, the test case doesn't have the compliance directly. The compliances are related to the requirements, which are related to the test case. So here are actually the compliance graph as they extract the compliance information from all the related requirements which are related to the test cases. So you can actually create these kinds of graphs which the information is not directly from that particular entity, but it is extracted from the other entities which are related to this particular entity, like the requirements which are related to this test case. One last report I want to show you is what we call the word report, and we have a word report for the requirements. So let's go to the report section here, and this is actually a very powerful reporting engine of Kovair. So this is a word report requirement specification document. So this is generating a word report. Let's open it up. So as you can see, this is a Word document automatically generated by Kovair, but the actual data are all coming from Kovair. So for example, here are the content which shows that those are the requirements which are coming, right? And if I scroll it down, you will see that here are the actual requirements, and these requirements, as a matter of fact, preserves all the different uh, the formatting, the embedded images, and everything, so that whatever you have put in the actual requirements can be extracted and put it in this document. This Word document is a very nice way of creating a report which you can share with the external agencies, whether it is your device manufacturer, application manufacturer, or any kind of compliance agencies, and you can create a document with some subset of requirements in the right format using all the formatting capability of Microsoft Word, and with a single click generate that document with the full formatting and everything, and share with your other agencies. So that actually completes the demonstration of the solution we have created for Verizon. Once again, this includes 3 different applications: requirements management, test management, and issues management. We have created this solution based on certain assumptions, and of course Kovair is one of the most configurable system. Just by drag and drop, you can create these configurations. You don't have to write a single line of code, and create a very powerful solution for your different divisions. Thank you very much, and have a nice day.